Hello, beautiful humans. How are you? God, the internet is strange. I'm having a whole moment about this. Welcome back. Oh, I promised cute hair. Here we go. Welcome back to part 2 of my numerology predictions for you personally, depending on which personal year you are coming into in 2023. I'm in some sort of funny mood today. I don't know if it's because I'm day 31 of my cycle. I don't know if it's because I'm sleep deprived. I don't know if it's just because I'm having, I don't know, little hysterical moments to myself about how wild and wonderful the internet is. But I'm here and I'm doing good. Thank you so much. So for those of you who were here yesterday for part 1, you know how this works, you know how this is going down. If this is your first time tuning in, hi, welcome to the crazy world that is Ask Harriet Land. I am your priestess, numerologist, life and business coach, master teacher, gypsy witch, lots of things. And I'm doing a series of free trainings via Instagram Live to help you predict and anticipate and prepare for what's coming for you personally in 2023 using the wonderful power of priestess numerology. By the way, if you would like my free guide on priestess numerology, there is now a link in my bio which you can click and go grab the free guide, which after you've heard everything that I've got to say here, might be really beneficial just for you to have as a kind of like reference guide to remind yourself of all the things that I have shared with you on these series of free trainings. So yesterday we covered personal years 6, 7, 8, and 9. And I also spoke to you at length about the collective year 6, which is the year that we've just come through, 2022, and the collective year 7, which we're going into, which is 2023. So when we're doing your numerology predictions for the coming year, you want to look at 2 things primarily. I mean, ideally, you want to look at lots of things, but ideally, if the information that you glean from these trainings alone, we want you to get 2 things down. We want you to understand the energies and frequencies of the collective year 7, which is what we're going into, and layer on top of that your personal year reading. Now, for some of you, you'll be going into a personal 7 year, so you'll have a personal 7 year combined with a collective 7 year. So it means that you've really only got the one focus and the one sort of understanding. But for most people, you'll be going into a collective 7 year, as we all are, but then your personal year will be a different number. So we want you to look at both energies so you can layer them on top of each other and kind of see all the different pieces to be mindful of, red flags to be aware of, and also energies to rise to and work with, things to really support you, to help you, have the best possible year, because it's been a bit of a rocky ride this last 3 years. Oh, thank you. Philippa says, I can't stay as I have the school run, but to say thank you for the inspiration you've given me since I found you on here. You are so welcome. That is so nice. I stopped doing Instagram lives for such a long time because I used to get people, like weird, random people, not followers, come on here and leave really strange comments, unnerving comments, sexual stuff. Blech, shudder. But anyway, it's lovely to get comments like that, so thank you very much. I do appreciate it. So, I digress. Most of you will have 2 numbers. Most of you will have a collective year number to consider and also your personal year number to consider. So, how to calculate your personal year? This is the most important piece. I have been saying repeatedly, and I will reiterate it here, if you're struggling to figure out your personal year, once this live gets posted to the grid as a replay, just comment underneath with your date of birth and say, hey, please, can you help me figure out my personal year? Because if you do it here in the live stream on the comments here, my brain's not going to be able to feed you all of the actual free training information and calculate individual personal years, so that comment will just get ignored, not because I'm being mean, just because I'm trying to give you the information that I promised I'm going to give you. So if you need help, wait until the replay gets posted to the grid and comment under there. And if you prefer not to put your date of birth in the public domain, you are more than welcome to DM me on Instagram, send me a private message, and it will be me or one of the team, Chloe and Mia, they're gorgeous, love them to bits. They will respond and say, hey, this is your personal year. But if you want to have a bash at doing it yourself, this is how you calculate your personal numerology year. Oh, Valentine Stone says, I was literally just thinking of you and hoping you go live again. Thank you. I am a member and I've taken some of your courses. Ah, yay! Oh my goodness, lovely humans. See, I was almost in a bad mood coming on. Now I'm in a great mood. I knew this would happen. You guys are awesome. Thank you. So, pen, may need a calculator. Appreciate you're all on your phones watching this. So a little bit of mental arithmetic to happen here. To calculate your personal year, you take the digits of the date of your birth, plus the digits of the month of your birth, the individual digits, and then to calculate the 2023 personal year, you will then add a 7. So say, for example, I'm going to use a really, really easy example so I don't fuck this up. Say you were born on the 1st of October, you would take the 1 plus the 1, and then you would add a 7. So you will be going into a personal year of 9. So you add the numbers as individual digits. So if you were born on the 24th of the month, for example, you would do 2 plus 4. You wouldn't do 24 plus all the rest of it. If you were born in June, you would be adding the 6. If you were born in November, you would say plus 1 plus 1. If you were born in December, you would do plus 1 plus 2. So let me try to do a slightly more complicated one and hope I don't embarrass myself. If you were born on the 1st of December, you would do 1 plus 1 plus 2, which is 4, plus 7, which is the year that we're going into. So 4 plus 7 is 11. And then what you want to do is you want to reduce the number that you arrive at so that it's a number of 10 or less. So because we've got to a number 11, we'll take 1 plus 1 and we'll add them together again, and that equals 2. Now, theoretically, a personal year 11 is a thing, but it falls into the realm of advanced numerology, and I don't want to start confusing people. So for the sake of this free training on numerology personal years, just if you arrive at a total of 11, just treat it as if you're going into a personal year 2, so 1 plus 1 equals 2. And then if you want a deeper, more advanced reading on your personal year and your whole chart, if you want, just reach out. Again, me and the team, we do personal readings. We're more than happy to do that. We also have lots of people in our world who are trained and certified priestess numerologists, because that's something else that I do as well. I train people in priestess numerology, which is the modality that I have created, and they become certified, and then they go off and they charge for readings. They make a lovely income doing it. Some more so than others. You know, some do it as a side thing, some do it as a full-time business. And I have some priestess numerology graduates who are outstanding, and I'd be happy to recommend you to them as well. So if you want a more advanced reading, DM us. Also, if you'd like to get trained yourself, DM us. Some people might be really interested in that. Numerology is fascinating. It's the language of the universe, and I believe it's the most ancient language that has been around on our planet. It's been around since the beginning of time, literally. It's amazeballs. So that is how you calculate your personal year. So remember, we're looking at two things: your personal year number, and the plus 7 is the based on going into 2023. That's how you calculate that. So your personal year, and the collective year that we're going into is also a collective 7 year. Now, I keep buffering. Are you guys hearing me okay? Are my lips syncing to my sound? Because my face keeps buffering. I'd appreciate some feedback. And I know there's going to be a lag in the comments now. The other thing that you can do for yourselves if you want to, I mentioned there's a free guide in the link in my bio, if you want, that actually walks you through calculating your entire numerology chart for yourself. Because in numerology, you actually have 5 numbers. You have a soul number, a karma number, a destiny number, a gift number, and a path number. So what you could do using my free guide is you could actually go and calculate all those 5 numbers for yourself, read all the understandings from that. It's a mini document. You know, I've really, really summarized. It's not a full, extensive, in-depth training on numerology, but it's giving you the bits that I feel like you could probably, use and understand straight away and be like, okay, this is actually really valuable. This is really good. So you could look at those 5 numbers from your chart and then combine that information with the personal year information that I'm giving you and the collective year information. And then you've got a real eye-opener of, oh wow, okay, so this is what's going down for me in 2023. This is what I understand about myself. These are my red flags. These are my traps. These are the things I need to master. These are the things that I need to lean into. Numerology is fascinating. Absolutely obsessed with it. Also obsessed with astrology and human design. I'm a 5/1 manifesting generator in human design. So for those of you who understand human design, you're like, oh, she's the investigator. My capacity for absorbing knowledge is huge, and I'm a full-blown geek with it, first to admit it. I adore both human design and astrology as well. But for me, numerology has that edge because the frequencies that's held in numbers, it's just so ancient, and there's a transcendent level of simplicity about it. You know, like anyone can really get it and get a real it can get a real impact from it. And that's really what I want for you guys. Right, so anyway, all of that introduction stuff aside, let's dive in. So where we left off yesterday, we were talking about if you're going into a personal year 9, and also talking about if you've just come through a personal year 9 in 2022, which I have. And so I was sharing some funny little anecdotes about that. So where we're going to pick up again now is if you are going into a personal year 10. And a personal year 10 is also interpreted as a personal year 1. So I'm going to speak about both because I don't want to go into advanced numerology, because in numerology there are 9-year cycles, 10-year cycles, 11-year cycles, 18-year cycles. Like there's so many different layers of cycles that we go through. I think to keep this simple and effective and impactful, which is what I want, we'll work with the 10-year cycle. So if you're going into a 10-year cycle, I want you to understand that you are going into both your personal 10-year and your personal 1 year. So we're going to do both, but we're going to start with the 10, because that 10 energy is going to feel like the culmination of the last 9 years of your life. There's a level of self-knowing, a level of determination that you haven't felt in yourself for a while, and perhaps you've kind of felt that brewing as you've been coming through your 9 year, but as 2023 hits, as you come into your 10 year, you're going to really hit the ground running with this like determination streak of like, God, yeah, like all the personal development work that I've been doing, all the work on myself, all the inner work, all the shadow work, everything that I've been doing for the last 9 years, like this is really culminating into something. Like this is, your 10 year is what we call your radiant year. So you're going to feel, for the most part, I hope, quite confident, quite clear in your vision and your mission and where you're running and what you're doing. You're going to be feeling like you've got your shit together. There will be a certain grace about you that you have been cultivating in this year, your 9 year. And that's going to come with radiance that demands a level of respect and self-respect as well. Like there's just this real confidence. And I think through that confidence will come more of your charisma. You know, the 10 energy typically is referred to as the divine masculine, but not like a toxic masculinity sense, obviously. I mean, numerology would never teach that, but it's just this, like, it's almost authoritative, but not in a hierarchical sense. It's just like a real inner knowingness and a radiance. I mean, it's the archetype of the noble leader. The archetype of radiance, that's the quality. So that's really going to start coming through for you off the back of all the work that you've been doing the last 9 years. So obviously it'll be slightly different for everyone, and it will also be slightly different depending on your own numerology chart, like what your soul number is, what your karma number is, etc., etc. But regardless of those other pieces, there's definitely going to be this energy of like fearlessness. Like you're really just going to go for it. Whatever it is that you've been building towards this last 9 years, and whatever you've been like getting really fucking frustrated about in 2022 in your personal 9 year, that frustration is going to dissipate a little bit, and there's really this like drive that's going to come up within you. And with the personal 10 energy, it's very much like a drive to give 110%. Like you are not fucking around anymore. You are going for it. We are going gung-ho for it, but it's not like going for it 110% and then you're going to burn out, or you're going to hit a hurdle, or you're going to trip yourself up, because that happened for us several years ago. Let me see, go back now, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. So that'll be 22, 21, 20, 19, 18. If you go back to 2018, that will have been your like, oh my God, yeah. Only just realizing this myself, because this is true for me. I'm going into my personal 10 year. 2018 will have been your burnout year. That will have been your year of like really, really going for it, but to the point of like it was unhealthy. Maybe even looking at like work-life health balances back then, those of you. 2018, yeah, that would have been your personal 5 year. Balance would have been a big theme for you then, but you've learned a lot since then, a hell of a lot since then. So coming into 2023, you've cultivated this, it's finesse, it's grace, it's radiance. Finesse is the perfect word for it. You've just fine-tuned you. You know who you are. so much more than you did 5 years ago. And so you're able to really go gung-ho for something, really drive, really go for it, 110% energy. And there's not even a whiff of burnout because you've streamlined. That's it. You've streamlined. You've ditched all the shit that doesn't serve. You've been doing the inner work, doing the shadow work. You know your own mind. You're going to really commit. You're going to commit in your personal 10 year like you've never committed before. And it's going to be very inspiring to witness for those of you who are in the public eye, or for those of you who are in any kind of leadership position. And I imagine even if you haven't previously been in any sort of leadership position, this year, your 9 year, will have given you some invitations, because the 9 was also about leadership, different type of leadership. So anything that you've been cultivating in the way of leadership, really stepping up, stepping into your own in 2022, that's really going to come into its own and like go to the next level in 2023. And because of that, you're going to notice that you're going to be even more magnetic. Like, you're going to be drawing people towards you. You're going to have this really powerful, magnetic, impactful presence. So these are all the good things about the personal 10 year. Like, this is going to be incredible for you. And I do feel like you're definitely going to feel this in the first half of the year. However, some things that you need to be aware of coming into your personal 10 year, because like I said yesterday, and I'm just going to repeat this, I know those of you who've watched part 1, you know this already, but I'll just repeat it. In numerology, I teach duality and polarity. It's not like I'm never ever going to give you a reading or give you insights or teaching where I'm like, hey, your life's going to be amazing. This is it. This is your year. This is your abundance year. Like, yay, it's all rainbows and unicorns and flowers, because it's not. That's not life. That's not how the universe works. It's not how numerology speaks the language of the universe. So there's always going to be two sides of the coin, right? And the way we teach this in numerology is that every number holds a frequency, but that frequency has its own spectrum of polarizing ends. It holds duality. Every number holds the frequency of duality. So what I've just described to you is one end of the spectrum, right? Or all the good stuff. Now on the other end, it's not that it's bad stuff. It's not that it's bad stuff at all. It's just that these are your red flags, the things to look out for. This is where you kind of fall into the traps of the 10 energy, and you'll experience them for a reason, because we're given challenges so that we can meet them and rise to them, you know, and overcome them. And we're given obstacles and hurdles so that we can learn more about ourselves. Like everything, I really do believe that everything in life happens for a reason, and that it's happening for us, and that often some of the most challenging things are our redirections on the path to where we're going, because we are moving through a constant cycle, a constant energetic cycle, always growing, always evolving. And I know sometimes for a lot of people, it can feel like you're just going round in circles, but often that circle is actually a cycle, you know, and it's bringing you up. And I think being mindful, all of you, of the red flags of your personal year, so all of the polarizing aspects that I talked about in part 1 and all the polarizing aspects that I'm going to give you here today in part 2, be mindful that those polarizing red flags, when they come up, those are the things that are going to keep you in a circle. And we don't want you in a circle. We want you to rise in a cycle. So just be mindful of them and be like, that's one of my red flags for my personal year, so I'm going to take note of that. I'm going to alchemize that. I'm going to lean into that. I'm going to learn the assignment from this. I'm going to rise from this. I'm going to choose differently. I'm going to use my evolved human conscious brain to choose differently. And instead of driving myself crazy in a circle, I'm going to rise in my own cycle, right? So things for you to look out for personal 10 year is that, and you've been working on this year, but there's still going to be, sometimes there's going to be moments where you're really inconsistent. You know, you're going to have this like 110% driving energy, like go, 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 go. And then there'll be moments where you just fall off and you don't hold yourself to the standard that you know you're capable of. You lose your sense of personal responsibility. You forget your own power. You forget your magnetism. You forget your radiance. You forget the fearlessness that you've been cultivating for 9 years now. And so there will be moments where you start to be a little bit inconsistent, whether that's with your spiritual practices, with your health practices, in business, I call them needle movers. So something that I've been teaching and coaching on all year is helping people how to move the needle. And needle movers are really important, but they require consistency and they require devotion. And devotion is another key word for you, personal 10 years. When you slip out of devotion, you're going to find that you're inconsistent. And when you're inconsistent, you're going to get down on yourself. Now, a couple of things that might trigger the inconsistency. Bear in mind, you're going to have experienced this massive level up. In fact, you've already been leveling up for the last 9 years. But personal 10 year, it's like a new level. Even I'm sort of anticipating the like, oh, hot damn, like here we go, new levels coming. And I think something that comes with a new level, a new rise to center stage, a new way of being more radiant and shining your light, perhaps in more places. This is the frequency of radiance, right? So you are going to be showing up a lot more. And with that comes a fear of conflict, a fear of being seen, a fear of being scared to stand out. Because this is a new level. It's almost like new territory for you. You haven't been here before. And I think because of all of the information and all of the personal development stuff and self-awareness and self-leadership work that you've been doing the last 9 years, it can actually cause you in your personal 10 year to overanalyze things and to almost like over-intellectualize things, like overthink stuff. Because you know so much at this point. You know so much about who you are and how you show up in your business. And you're so much more aware, not just of yourself, but what's been going on around you. That's something else that you've cultivated in your 9 year, which was 2022 for you. You've developed this subtle awareness of what's going on around you, so the level of knowledge that you have absorbed in your 9 year is quite phenomenal, and you've been applying it in real time. You've really been embodying a lot of this new knowledge, new information, stuff that you've been acquiring for the last 8-9 years, and that's amazing. But in the 10 years, you take all of that and you really go, right, come on, next level, radiance, glow up, here we go. It's like, oh shit, and now I know so much, and now I'm rising, and I'm this big light, and I'm this big radiance, and I'm out there, like, oh, fear of conflict, oh God, oh, fear of being seen, oh shit, like, nobody look at me. And wait, I know what's going on here. And then all the psychobabble will come in, like all the information that you've learned in the last 9 years, all the stuff that you've been embodying. Just be careful that you don't use it against yourself and over-intellectualize, because that's a huge trap of the 10. And as soon as you over-intellectualize, you're going to introvert. You're going to come back into yourself. You're going to cut yourself off. That radiant energy that we've been talking about, that leadership, that finesse, that 110% drive, that's all going to collapse back into you. And when that happens, and it will, because this is a part of your learning of 10, so this is definitely going to happen. Remember this. It might even happen multiple times. But when all of that collapses back in, the way you're going to feel is, I'm useless. I'm crap. I can't do this. Just please be super mindful. Write that down as one of your red flags, because if that's happened or happening, it's a good thing. Like, this has to happen as part of your personal 10-year experience. This has to happen as part of your step up into radiance, okay? So it is a good thing. It is a really, really good thing. And what can also happen as well is that when you over-intellectualize and when you get into that fear of conflict space and you start to introvert and come back into yourself, that's when you stop doing the 110%. That's when you stop going all in. And going all in is something that you're going to be really, really good at in your personal 10 year. But then when you don't go all in, you lose your passion. And then when you lose your passion, you start being scared to express yourself. And then when you're scared to express your full self, you lose your radiance. And so there's a potential for a circle here, right? And as I was describing earlier, we don't want the circle, we want the cycle. Like, it's totally okay to do 1 step forward, 2 steps back. But then we want 3 steps forward, a step back, 3 steps forward, a step back. Like, the losing yourself and the losing your radiance and the losing your drive and being inconsistent and having moments of fear instead of fearlessness and feeling like you're crap and useless and ineffective and all of those things, right? It's normal. It's completely normal. It's part of the human condition, and it will be part of your personal 10 year. But when it happens, I want you to remember that this was all part of the divine plan. And you have to take personal responsibility to see it and be like, oh, that's my personal 10-year learning. Like, that's the experience that was designed for me for this year. Like, that's my universal assignment. This is my universal reflection. Okay, I see you, boo. I hear you. I got you. I'll lean into you. I'll rise up. And then we're going to cycle forwards. Now, the key to mastering your personal 10-year is to know yourself at such a deep and true level that you are, just wait for this. Like, please, if you're coming into a personal 10-year, I need you to hear this. Like, grab a pen and write it down. Your key to mastery is to know yourself at such a deep and true level that you are able to surrender all notion of identity. Like, You know yourself so much, you don't need to say, I am this, I am that. You don't give a shit what other people say of you or say about you or project onto you, or she's this, she's that, she's the other. You don't give a shit about claiming an identity. This isn't an ego thing. This isn't a pride thing. This isn't a look at me thing. This is I know myself so fully, so truly, so wholly, so deeply, so effortlessly. Like that anchor, that power is so strong that I lean back and I radiate. That's what makes me magnetic. It's not big up in your face, here I am, look at me, egoic, shiny energy. No. It's, I know who I am, and divinity just pours through me. I know who I am, I'm just serving. I know who I am, and I don't need to claim the identity because it's fully embodied. Like, that's such an epic power for you in your personal 10 year. Okay, so now bear in mind, I said at the beginning that personal 10 year, I also want you to treat as a personal 1 year. Now they're quite similar, but personal 10 year has that radiance piece. Now, because numerology works in a cycle, as you come into your personal 10 year, you're at the culmination of the last 9 years, and also you're right at the beginning of a brand new cycle where this is also your 1 year. So we're going to build on the radiance that you experience and all of the things that you navigate in regards of your red flags, right, for your 10 year. And also at the same time, personal 10s, we want to be looking at, okay, and how do I use this radiance to set the foundation for the next numerological cycle of evolution for me? So when we look at this as a 1 year, you'll hear some very, very similar things. The good side, right? The expansive polarity of a personal 1 year, lots of clarity, very compassionate, strong sense of purpose, very creative, very inspirational, right? Very, very similar to what we've just described in the 10. And the red flags for you, the bits that you might trip up on, over-intellectualizing, again, very similar. Struggles with being consistent, again, very similar. Being quite hard on yourself, very similar. And also, and this is the one that I think is really going to trip you up, and I can potentially see this coming towards the end of 2023 for you, if you're going into a personal 10/personal 1 year, is feeling like you've got no direction in life. And this is almost a bizarre thing to acknowledge, because it's like you've had the most amazing year, which is this culmination of all the work that you've been doing. Like, you have stepped up, you've dropped in, you've chilled out, you're radiant, you're magnetic, like you've finessed, you demand so much respect, there's so much magnetism about you, and you ride this wave. And yeah, there's going to be hurdles, and there's going to be like moments of, I'm crap, I can't do it, you know, ego shit. It's going to happen. But then towards the end of the year, as the 10 sets the foundation for the 1, and it might happen earlier, like I said, we're all different. So just want to know, you might have moments of been like, I don't know where I go from here. Like, I literally do not know where I go from here. Like, maybe it's a life thing, maybe it's a relationship thing, maybe it's a business thing, but just be mindful of when that creeps in. And when it does, I want you to grab it with both hands and be like, oh, I don't know where I'm going because I'm starting a new cycle. Like, my next level is another 9-10 year cycle from here on to the next, right? So that's what that feeling is. And that's all you need to know about that feeling, is it's just the beginning of a new cycle. And that's a good thing. Like, it's like video games, right? You've reached a level, you've got the gold coins, the little cup came out, you're on the leaderboard, you're right at the top, you're like, yeah, winning at life. And then it's like, right, next level, here we go. And all of a sudden, you're right back at the beginning, no gold coins, bottom of the leaderboard, because you're playing in a bigger league, right? You're at your next level, bigger pond type vibes. And all of a sudden, you're feeling like a very little fish. A very little fish who knows nothing. And that's what that feeling is. Like, I don't know what I'm doing in my life. Like, what am I doing? But you just reached your own energetic next level. So you got upgraded to the next leaderboard or to the next pond. And it's kind of like starting from scratch again, only it's not, because it's a cycle, right? You're constantly rising, constant growth and evolution. So, which leads us into, if you're coming into a personal 2 year. So if you're coming into a personal 2 year, in 2023, you've just had your personal 10/1 year, right? You've just had a really, really bloody good year, I hope. Yes, with its hiccups, yes, with the inconsistency, yes, with the being hard on yourself. And perhaps in hindsight now, hearing this information, perhaps you experience more of the red flags than you did all of the uplifting magnetism, 110% finesse type energy. Don't beat yourself over the head with a stick. This is your opportunity to run through another 9-10 year cycle. And when you get to your next 10 year, be like, okay, this is my radiant year. But if you're coming out of a 10-1 year, you've also, unwittingly, whether you've realized it or not, unconsciously, you've set an incredible foundation for your next cycle, right? So coming into a 2 year, now don't forget, some of you will do the calculation and you'll arrive at the calculation that you're coming into an 11 year. That is also true, but it's advanced numerology. So those of you who are coming into a personal 11 year, feel free to reach out. Happy to do advanced in-depth readings for a fee. Obviously, I'm not going to do them for free. But there is more information for you if you're coming into a personal 11 year, because this is where the cycles overlap. So if you're going into a personal 11 year, you're also going into a personal 2 year, but you want to be able to read both and perhaps track back the cycles that you've been through. And that will be very much dependent on how old you are as to how many 9-year cycles, 10-year cycles, 11-year cycles, and 18-year cycles you've had. Those of you who are aged between 33 and 36, which I know is quite a solid number of my clients, those years are really, really transformational. Really, really transformational. So if you're falling on an 11 year and you're aged between 33 and 36, might be a really good time for an in-depth reading. But having said that, it's always a really good time for an in-depth reading. So if you want a personalized in-depth numerology reading, or you want to learn numerology yourself, just reach out. So anyway, I digress. If you're coming into a personal 2 year, let's start with the bad stuff first. There's going to be a new level of awareness and learning for you around boundaries. The 2 energy is all about boundaries. It's all about discernment. It's all about management and relationships. It can also include a lot of like sacral type stuff, but that doesn't necessarily mean sexual stuff, although I am going to touch on it because I know for some it will be relevant. But 2 energy is very much like, can we get some management, mastery, awareness, and implementation of boundaries, please? So, it could be that you've had wonderful boundaries in the past and they haven't been an issue. It could be that you've had an issue with boundaries your whole life. Either way, coming into a 2 year, like the energy here is an invitation to be like, hey, can we just deal with some boundary shit? Maybe there's new people in your life, new career, new business, new romance. Perhaps you just moved cross country. Perhaps there's been some sort of change in your life, and there's going to be an invitation for you to start implementing more self-serving, but also collectively serving boundaries. Perhaps you've struggled with boundaries your whole life. So this really is your year to be like, okay, this is something that I'm going to master here. Now, boundaries is not pushing someone out. I don't want to give you a free masterclass on boundaries. We'll be here all night. But boundaries, just to be super clear, is not pushing someone out. It's just setting a standard for a relationship that serves both sides, right? Something for you to work on if you're coming into a personal 2 year. Something else that you might be acutely aware of, personal 2s, is difficulty making decisions. Because the 2 is linked to the negative mind, which has a tendency to lean towards, everything's a bad idea, everything's dangerous, sometimes the second energy body, the negative mind, the 2 frequency can have a tendency to collapse things in. And when we haven't got full spectrum of vision, right, when we can only see the negative in a situation, that makes it very, very difficult for us to make decisions. So I want you to be super mindful, personal 2s, that if you are struggling to make decisions, this is part of your energetic growth and development this year. And it would be really helpful for you to access the negatives, the positives, and the neutrality of a situation to help you make decisions. Tap into your heart space. It's going to be a really good one. Gundega Fox, I missed the start. Did you explain how to calculate the number? I did, absolutely. And if you have any issues, feel free to reach out to us in the DMs and or comment on the replay of this live once it hits the grid, and one of us will be able to calculate it for you, no problem. Thank you for asking. Right, other 2 stuff. Oh, this is a big one. Right. Oh my goodness, how to explain this? Personal 2 year. So there will be a feeling, in the spiritual world, we call it a feeling of longing to belong. And it's like a feeling of, I'm trying to think when I last experienced this. It's a feeling of like, I don't belong here. I don't fit in here. Am I in the right circles? Am I in the right community? Am I even on the right planet? I've had that before. Like you just kind of feel like something's missing almost in your life. It's kind of like that, and you're just longing for some sort of connection or relationship or acceptance or visibility or something. And it might, you might have wonderful relationships in your life, and you might have really fulfilling jobs, and so or businesses or whatever it is that you do in life. And so this feeling might feel really strange for you. And the way that I teach it in numerology is I explain the two energies where we experience the fact that we're actually separate from God, or separate from source, or separate from universe. I'm not religious, so I don't teach numerology in a religious context. I teach it in a universal one. But that two energy, like when we come into the frequency of two, and we all do this as part of our incarnation, it's like that first kind of moment where we go, I'm not one with God anymore. Like my soul is not a part of the fabric of the universe. Like my soul is in this human flesh body, and I'm like here walking around on my own on this planet, like trying to figure out this human life shit. And it's kind of a big deal, right? And so personal 2 year, it can be like a pull towards wanting to be part of different communities, or maybe it's relationship stuff for you, maybe it's wanting to feel closer to God, maybe it's a next level spiritual awakening, right? Like it can play out in lots of ways, especially if it's actually a personal 11 year for you. It's definitely going to be that spiritual awakening, spiritual mission piece. Like I said, advanced numerology, not going to go into it too much here. But because of all of these frequencies, it can cause you to feel quite vulnerable in partnerships and relationships, just like you're not really sure, you're not really yourself, you're just trying to figure stuff out. That's okay. If that's a theme for your personal 2 year, run with it. Like it's fine. Like this is part of your growth and evolution. Now, I did mention that I was going to touch on the sacral bits, and this will not be applicable for everybody. So if this doesn't happen for you in your 2 year, like don't even stress about it. It's probably a good thing. But some people will struggle with sexual and intimacy challenges because it's very much a heavy 2 frequency. Now, if you've got 2 energy in your personal chart, this may well come up a lot for you in your personal 2 year. If you haven't, perhaps not so much, but just flagging as something to potentially be aware with. If there are sexual and intimacy issues for you in your personal 2 year, potentially this is why. And of course, I will always recommend that you seek the advice and the help and support that you need in those instances. And what else? Be mindful, another red flag, be mindful, my personal 2 years, that you use your discernment to make your decisions. Remember I said you're going to have some difficulty making decisions through this year, a bit like what, who am I? I can't see the good, I can't see the bad, where's the neutrality, just like all up in your head and just a bit like, oh my God, I'm tearing my hair out, like I don't know what to do, I can't make a decision. Now what might happen when you hit that space, you might go, well, my intuition says, and you run with your intuition. Well, your intuition's not a bad thing, but if you are too dependent on your intuition, it means you're not fully listening to your discernment. And something that your personal 2 year wants to teach you is the art and magic of discernment in your decision making. Be really, really discerning. This isn't a slam the door shut, no, that's a bad idea, hard boundary, no, it's not that, right? Because that's one polarizing extreme. But it's a decision making process where you use discernment, and it's the application of boundaries so that you can be in healthy relationship. That's what's that about. And this is why this relationship stuff, this difficulty being in relationship, or perhaps having awkwardness connecting to people, the sexual intimacy issues, feeling vulnerable in partnerships, relationships, whether that's platonic, professional, sexual, romantic, etc. Like these are all big themes for you in your personal 2 year. However, that said, personal 2 year also activates your creativity. So there's every chance that you're going to have a huge creative surge. And for some of you, these relationship hiccups and these like connection, awkward, weird things, with this information, you might actually see them and work through them very quickly and actually find yourself in a place where you're in great relationships, because you're well prepped for it, because you're mindful of it, because you've got this discernment, boundaries, people thing in your mind, like that is your key to carry through. Then actually you might find that you end up in the most abundant, amazing relationships, again, of all kind, professional, personal, platonic, romantic. And again, you might take this information and be like, okay, yeah, boundaries. I'm going to learn as much as I can about boundaries. I'm going to read the books. I'm going to do the courses. I'm going to get the coaching and the mentorship. I'm going to get the support. I'm going to make sure that my boundaries aren't just self-serving and egoic, but my boundaries actually serve the relationship. And then because of that, you enter into relationships that are really abundant and mutually supportive. And that could be absolutely amazing for you. Something else that there is a potential here for, remember how I said you might have a tendency to get all in your head and in your negative narratives, but if you actually listen to that rather than suppressing it and pushing it away, you might actually find that you are able to really fine-tune your capacity to see the potential risk in situations as a self-protection mechanism, not as a hard no boundary, but as just like, that's a bit risky, and using my discernment, I'm not sure I'm going to go for that right now. And this could be an asset that you really, really cultivate in your personal 2-year. And something else with the sexuality piece as well is that with the right support and help, you could really cultivate this energy that's coming through in your personal 2-year so that you actually develop your own really powerful sexual energy in a way that's really healthy for you and is really serving of the journey that you're on in your personal 2-year. Little key for you, personal 2 years, is to make sure that throughout the year you are carving out dedicated time to listen to the negative narratives that are in your head, because they will come up, mostly around boundaries and discernment and relationships and creativity, sexuality, connection to God, feeling like you belong in community or belong on this planet. Like, those are going to be narratives and themes that come up a lot. Instead of suppressing them, ignoring them and pushing them to one side, create some space and time in your life to actually listen to them and be in conversation with them, because they have a lot to teach you. And this is how you're really going to master your personal 2-year. All right, moving into personal 3 years. So those of you who are coming into a personal 3-year, again, we'll start with the red flags, like things to just be super, super, super mindful of. 3 is the archetype of the artist, so it's a very, very creative year. It's also the archetype of the positive self. But as I said, with numerology, because of the polarity, we can get ourselves into a place where we experience the extremes. So red flags to be super mindful of, those of you who are going into a personal 3-year, be aware that you might have tendencies to be overly critical on yourself or overly self-negating. And when you get really critical of yourself, you'll find that you sort of talk yourself down into a place where you just can't be fucked to do anything. Like, you've got no motivation, you've got no willpower, you're down on yourself and you're down in the dumps. And the lower you get, the more that exacerbates fear in you. And the 3 is a fire frequency. And so the fear that comes with the fire frequency is like fear of power, fear of responsibility. And the more the fear feeds that fire and pushes you away from the invitation to step into a place of power, or step into your personal power, or step into responsibility for the life that you're trying to build, then the more it can actually cause you to become a little bit passive, a little bit dismissive, perhaps quite disorganized. And then again, that exacerbates this cycle of the negative thoughts, the self-critique, the self-negating thoughts, the talking yourself down, the beating yourself over the head with a stick. You talk yourself down and down and down and down, and then you can't be asked. You've got no willpower. You're not consistent. You're not showing up. And that then feeds this fire of this fear, which is like, oh, I just don't want to go there, and I just fuck the world. And I tend to hear narratives in the 3 year, like fuck the government or fuck the police, or like any kind of authoritative figure. That's that fear, fire, fueling that can happen when we get really, really down on ourselves. So the image that I've just portrayed, that's absolutely not your theme for the whole year. That's just one extreme. And those of you who've just come through your 3 year and are going into your 4 year, you might recognize moments in the year in hindsight where you've definitely been in that sort of self-negating, talking yourself down, like, oh, this is shit, I can't be asked with this, fuck. Like completely shitting on your own fire, pissing on your own fire. Like you when you dampen your own fire, it feels crap. Those of you coming through a 3 year, I'm going to bet you've had several moments like that. Those of you going into a 3 year, be super, super mindful that you'll have a tendency to that, especially more so if you've got 3 energy in your chart. But even if you don't, be mindful that this is your personal 3 year. So this is a much broader sort of growth and evolution in this particular energetic frequency for you. Now on the plus side, the expanse, Amy, not me at all. Yeah. On the plus side, the positive side, like when we're cultivating this 3 energy and when we're really stepping into the fire in a good way, that we're really fanning the flames of our own creativity and our own expression and our own artistry, your personal 3 year can be so expansive, so optimistic, like so creative. And in a lot of people, I see this like bringing out their funny side, you know, their personality really comes out and they start to shine. And it's very much like, it's quite an innocent energy, you know, it's very playful. It's kind of little girly. It's like, yeah, we're just going to have fun and I'm going to share my sunny bright light with everyone. And we're going to, you know, play jokes on each other and just have a really good fun time. It's like, I call it like really earthy, deep, fun humor. It's that kind of vibe. It can be really playful. It can be really genuine, really authentic, really rooted, really grounded, because it's that 3 energy is like, it's like lower down in our energetic system. So it has got that grounded, like belly laughs. That's the good side of a good 3 year, personal 3 year, is those just deep belly laughs and having fun. If you've got kids, spending time with your kids and being in that really innocent, playful energy, like such a good vibe for you. And then because of that, because you're very much having a life that is the belly laughs and the sunny side of the street and the happiness and the motivation, that actually gives you the willpower to go and do the things that you want to do, to create the things that you want to create. And so with that becomes this expression of power where you feel self-empowered by yourself, by your creations, by your funny jokes, by your belly laughs, by your good humor. But in a way that it's not like, look at me. Like this is a real humble power, you know, because it comes from a really, really primal place. And it's such a beautiful quality when it's cultivated well, because it's fiery and it's warm and it's so creative. So going into your 3 year, I think really important for you to focus on this artistry, these belly laughs, this sort of innocent, playful energy, and just be mindful that you don't let the fire of fear and self-negation and like giving away your power or rejecting power talk you down in the dumps into a place of like, ugh, this is shit, I'm done. And it will happen. Like I keep saying, with every single number, it will absolutely happen. But it's a rite of passage. It's a rite of passage of growth and evolution through your personal 3 year. Okay, moving into a personal 4 year. So those of you who are coming into a personal 4 year, some similar themes like 2, 3, and 4 can be quite similar because they're all the mind energies. So this is all cultivating and building finesse and self-awareness around the way your mind works. So as you're going through personal 2, 3, and 4 years, this is cultivation and finesse of your mind. And you're going to need it as you obviously go into then your later years. So in a personal 4 year, kind of recurring themes of your personal 2 year, which won't have been the year that you've just had, but last year. So 2 and 4 have this in common. Coming into your personal 4 year, I think that you're going to revisit a lot of that, like finding it difficult to make decisions. Like now you've kind of got a handle on discernment and you've got a handle on like the risks and the negativity. And you've also just had like a really happy-go-lucky creative year for the most part. And so now coming into a personal 4 year, it's about balancing all of that. It's about balancing the negative with the positive, with the neutrality. And I think sometimes what I can see happen a lot in personal 4 years is that you can pendulum swing from one extreme to the other, because you've had 2 quite contrasting years next to each other. One that's, you know, really been driven by like, who am I don't belong anywhere, like fueled by negativity and weird relationships and boundaries and lack of discernment and just like, ugh. And then coming into a 3 year where a lot of it's just been like, okay, well maybe I've kind of sorted out my relationships, but now I'm just getting down on myself, you know. But and also you've had 2 extremely creative years and you've cultivated a lot of skills here. So now it's combining the past 2 years and using them coming into your personal 4 year in a way that actually serves you. So be mindful as you're kind of culminating the experience of the last 2 years, that you're not too judgmental on yourself, because you're still only part way through a 9, 10, 11 year cycle, right? You're coming into your personal 4 year. And as a karma 4 myself, I know only too well how fierce we can be with self-judgment. And so I want you to be really, really mindful that you're not too judgmental on yourself, you're not too hard on yourself, but also you're not too judgmental and hard on others. Because you've cultivated a lot recently in your own self-awareness of your own mind, and you're likely going to be interacting with people who perhaps, well, they're going to be at different stages in their own growth and evolution, right? So they might not have mastered the same things as you, and might not have the same perspectives as you, might not have the same discernment, might not like all the boundary work that you've been doing, perhaps, if that's the thing that you've been doing. So just be super mindful that your 4-year is an invitation to really operate from the heart and be compassionate and kind of carry a frequency of selfless service. That's going to work really, really well for you. I think there might be a theme of you trying to integrate all of your life lessons, you know, because you've been through a lot the last couple of years, and I really wanted to integrate and embody that. And that can sometimes be difficult, but persevere with it, because this is part of your journey with a personal 4-year, is that you have got a lot to integrate now, and your heart is really starting to open. Keep that heart open. Don't let it shut down, because it will want to, as you do your own battle of trying to integrate and then perhaps not so successfully, and then being hard on yourself because of that, and then just giving up on the whole thing. And like I said earlier about the pendulum swinging, you can sometimes find yourself going from one extreme to the other as you're moving through your personal 4-year, and maybe sometimes find it difficult to balance your emotions. It's this real pendulum swing where you're almost going from one extreme to the other and like just struggling to find the middle ground. I want you to realize that that's the point of the 4. Like, this is the thing that the personal 4-year is teaching you, how to revisit the last couple of years and all the extremes that you've been to, take all of those lessons and integrate them into your heart space in a way that you're not being judgmental of self and also not judgmental of others, right? Because that's going to be a big theme. So assuming that you really take all of these lessons, you free yourself from judgment, and you're super mindful of the influences of other people and be mindful of the extremes of emotions. The positive side, like the really beautiful part of a personal 4-year, is having a really strong heart-soul connection. Like, that's really kind of what we want to create inside. Like, this is the first piece of the anchor that we build, that you're then going to be building through the next few cycles until you get to your 10-year, where it's like that anchor is solid. And it's like with every cycle that we go through, we build another piece of this inner scaffolding, you know, that really props us up, that really allows the flow of divine energy to come through us and be expressed in who we are and the work that we do and the conversations that we're in. So this 4-year, anytime you're going through a personal 4-year, since it's cyclical, so you'll go through many, this heart-soul connection, like, this is a foundational piece of scaffolding. Like, that's how I want you to see it. Heart-soul connection, so important. You'll find that heart-soul connection by being in selfless service. Now, for those of you who are in the self-development world, spiritual world, if you're a coach, healer, guide, whatever, you'll totally get selfless service. But to the everyday person, or perhaps people who aren't in this industry, selfless service can just be helping humanity in any way where you allow yourself to overflow from a full cup in order to help someone else, right? That's what selfless service means. And I'd hope for you by the end of your personal 4-year that you're in a place where you feel more balanced, you're mastering the art of decision making, you've really opened your heart, you're really understanding selflessness, you love helping people just because you can, and you're doing it from a place of overflow, not from a place of sacrifice. You've really started to integrate the lessons of the last few years. You've got this piece of scaffolding inside of you, like this real heart-soul connection that perhaps a couple of years ago, that's when you were having these feelings of like, who even am I? Do I even belong here? Like, that really begins to dissipate by the end of your personal 4-year. And you become, because of all of this, you become a really, really good judge of people and judge of situations without emotional bias. Now, obviously, this is a skill that needs cultivating, but if you really bring a lot of mindfulness to it, personal 4 years, I think you're going to cultivate a skill that humanity really fucking needs right now. You could be providing a huge asset to the world. This might be completely outside of your career, your job, your business, whatever you naturally do. But those of you who are coming into a personal 4-year, I think you're going to have a foundational place in the communities around you, whether it's a paid place through the work that you do, or whether it's just you being a fucking good human because the world needs them right now. So if you're coming into a personal 4-year, I hope you've really heard that and resonated with that. Those notes are in the free guide in the link in my bio, so please make sure you grab it so that you can remind yourself of it. It's going to be a big year for you. Just please do not be hard on yourself and watch the pendulum swing of your emotions, right? Because that can really, really slip you up. All right. And then final one, you guys, if you are coming into a personal 5 year, so it means you've just been through a personal 4 year. Thank you for being an open heart in the world. We've needed you. You're now coming into your personal 5 year. So big themes for you next year. I'm going to give you your tips first. Watch your nervous system. If you are coming into a personal 5 year, you're going to have a tendency to lean towards a very boom or bust mentality, a very all in or all out approach to life. Watch yourself with that, because that's how you're going to destabilize your nervous system. Balance is key for you in your personal 5 year. You're also going to revisit that thing that we talked about in the personal 2 year, where you can feel a little bit outside of things. And it's not in the same way that you felt it in the personal 2 year, where it was like, do I even belong here? Like, where do I belong? It's not quite that. It's a slightly different nuance. It's a very subtle difference in the energetics, but it's feeling you're on the precipice of alchemy, because a personal 5 year is the year of change. It is the year of alchemy. And so you're going to be going through a 12-month alchemical process. And as you do that, one of the themes for 5 is sacrifice. You're going to be sacrificing one state of being for another. You might be sacrificing friendships for something else. You might be sacrificing relationships for something else. Sacrificing a way of doing things or a way of believing. You might be sacrificing your old faith systems for newer ones. You might be sacrificing living in one place for moving into another place. There's a lot of sacrifice when I teach it in the spiritual sense. It's not martyrdom. It's not like sacrificing yourself, like you are not the sacrificial lamb. I'm talking about sacrifice in the alchemical sense. Sacrificing one state of something to change it into another state of something, right? This is going to be a huge theme for you. And so as you go through this process of just so much change in a 5 year, change that will happen in the body energetically, which is why I say be mindful of your nervous system. As you're going through these change processes, as the change is like in the middle, there's going to be moments of you feeling like, I don't belong there, and I don't belong there, and I'm just kind of on the outside waiting for shit to change and like land and drop in. And then it will, and the result of the alchemy of the change, the transformation will make itself known, and then you'll be like, oh, okay, cool. You know, so it's not like a year-long feeling of like, I don't belong anywhere, which is very much a personal 2 year vibe. The personal 5 year vibe is just momentary, like fleeting things of, I feel like I'm not really in this right now. I don't really know what I'm doing, where I'm going. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, I've just sacrificed that for that. Oh, I've just been through that change, or I've just been through that alchemy. I've just been through that transformation. And I think because of the level of change and transformation and alchemy that's happening with your life, there's going to be moments where you can really struggle to articulate yourself, because there's just so much happening so fast, and so much happening that perhaps you didn't expect. And especially if your nervous system does get a little bit destabilized by all the speed of change and transformation, and it might be slower for some of you, but regardless of the speed, there's going to be change, and you're going to feel that change innately in your energy. And as it's happening, you're almost changing your identity. So the way that you speak, the way that you communicate can at times feel a little bit challenging. And don't get me wrong, like this is a big year of change, and some people really, really struggle with change. So there can be a lot of resistance to actually making the sacrifice, you know, actually letting go of something to let something new in. There might be a lot of resistance to that. And if that's the case, then cool, just be aware of it. Everyone's different in that regard. Now, the other thing I should mention, because of that change transformational process that's going to keep happening with the 5, and those moments of like feeling like you're on the outside and you can't articulate, it can cause you, like, it's that kind of boom and bust thing, the all in or the all out. It can have moments of you going, well, I don't know what's going on, so I'm out. And then you just don't do anything. And it can be interpreted as laziness. And you might notice yourself having moments of just being really fucking lazy. If you've just come through a 5-year, I don't know if in hindsight you can recognize, you're like, damn, I've been quite lazy this year. It's like, because energetically you just know that you're waiting for something to shift. Like the alchemy is happening, but you're not really participating in the alchemy. Because this is an accumulation of the last 4 years of work that you've been doing, and all the previous cycles. And a lot of it is just like surrender, it's handing it over to the universe. So it can be like, God, I'm just like, I'm twiddling my hair here. I'm just twiddling my thumbs and feel like I've got, nothing to do. So I'm just going to chill. It can be a bit like that, a 5-year. Again, not a bad thing. But I think in those moments, when you hit those moments, it would be a really good idea to move your body. Like if you find yourself in the in-between of change and alchemy and transformation and sacrifice, go for a walk, hit the gym, go do a yoga class. Like the 5 energy is really connected to the physical body. In the energy body work that I do, the 5 is the physical body. So when I say this change is happening within you energetically, it absolutely is, but it's also happening within you physically. And so if you can keep your body moving, even just like gentle exercise, just go for a walk around your garden or something, or just get on the treadmill, do a gentle stretch or a yoga class, or get one of those apps and do a little cardio hit workout or whatever. I think in those moments of laziness, like a really, really good hack for you to move through this 5-year with as much abundance and transformation and ease as possible is keep your body moving. Not in a way where you're going to burn yourself out, because there is a tendency to nervous system dysregulation in a personal 5-year. So definitely not to push yourself to the extreme, because I don't want you to boom and bust. I don't want you to burn out. But keeping your body moving keeps the energy moving, which keeps the alchemy going. That said, those of you who are aware of nervous system regulation work, do it. Do it. And if you're not familiar with nervous system regulation work, if you're going into a personal 5-year, this definitely is something that you want to be looking at. Just grab a book, do a free course on the internet, maybe, do a paid course or get a coach who's a specialist in it. Like the depth with which you want to go with this shit, that's entirely on you. But you could well end the year with a really strong nervous system, and that's going to serve you well going into your personal 6-year, which will be the following year. Also, something for you to really cultivate and master is balance. So have a look at balance in your life. And I'm not just talking about work-life balance here. I'm talking about balance in all areas. So look at work, and then look at relationships, and then look at health, and then look at exercise, and then look at your social life, and then look at your spiritual practices, and just see if you can find balance in all of those areas, because change is happening in all of them, and if some are ignored, the change and transformation won't happen. So it's quite important for you, personal 5-year, that you arrive at the end of the year feeling like, yeah, I'm pretty balanced in my life, and that's going to feel really, really good for you. Like this is not a year for you to just go to extremes in one particular area of your life. This is a year for you to master balance in all areas of your life. And like I said, with the moving your body thing, there's capacity here for you to feel physically quite strong by the end of the year. I say capacity because that won't apply to everyone, and the first group of people that spring to mind are mothers who've just given birth. You may well end your personal 5-year, 2023, feeling really, really strong. And also, if you've just given birth and you're still postpartum and recovering, you might feel really weak, and that's okay. So it's kind of like, it's an energy that's available. It certainly might help you through postpartum if that's what you're going through, for example. But this isn't prescriptive. This is not me saying you have to have a strong physical body by the end of your personal 5-year. Other things that you're naturally going to come into, I think, if you're doing the work that I'm advising for your personal 5-year, is that you'll get to the end of the year and you'll have mastered a level of communication that's previously eluded you. Like the communication issues that you had in your personal 2, 3, 4 years, like those are going to come into their own level of mastery this year. Communication, speaking, articulating yourself, like this throat chakra vibe, big vibe for you, personal 5-year. And also all those troubles that you had in your previous year about trying to assimilate and embody all of the lessons, and you're like, I'm having a real hard time like trying to integrate everything. You're definitely going to hit a point in your personal 5-year where you're like, you know what? I've learnt my lessons. Like, I've embodied this shit, and I've embodied it to the point where actually I'm beginning to teach. And this feels really good. Like, 5 energy is strong student teacher energy. And we often say to be a great teacher, you need to be an even greater student, you know? So all that work that you've been killing yourself over this last 12 months, been like, I'm trying to integrate my lessons. I don't know what life's trying to teach me. Oh, no, wait, I do. No, I don't. Like, all of that. And you've been doing that for a couple of years now. That's really going to come into its own in 2023, personal fives, where you're like, hey, I've got this. Like, yes, I've learned some shit. This feels good. It's integrated. Like, I'm embodying this, and to the point where I feel really confident to teach it, to share my wisdom, to speak. And then that communication piece of like, hey, I'm articulating myself really well here. This feels really, really good. And doing it in a way that if you cultivate balance for yourself, your nervous system's going to be fully on board with it as well. And you're going to end the year, probably at the end of your personal 5-year, going, damn, I've changed. There's been a lot of alchemy and a lot of transformation this year. And it wasn't that scary. And yeah, I sacrificed a lot, but look at what I now have, you know? So this frequency of change, transformation, sacrifice, not in the martyrdom sense, but just in a really committing to the energy of change and transformation. And it is going to require a lot of surrender, but please don't interpret surrender as laziness. Like I said, if you're feeling like you're just not really doing much, move your body. It's going to be so, so good for you. All right. Okay. My loves, that just about covers it, I believe. If you are moving into your personal 6, 7, 8, or 9 year, make sure you check out part 1. If you're moving into your personal 10, 2, 3, 4, or 5 year, we covered that here in part 2. If you've got no idea what your personal year is, make sure you watch the replays. And if you're still struggling, just drop a comment below this live once it hits the grid as a replay or on the previous replay, and the team and I will be more than happy to help you figure out your personal year. I hope this has been really, really helpful for you. Just a reminder, if you're only watching this one part 2, that you need to read and understand your personal year in conjunction with the collective year, which I cover at the beginning of the part 1 video. If you want extra support with the numerology, there is a free guide. Just click the link in my bio. Make sure you grab that, because all of the key points that I've covered in both these lives, along with loads of other information, is in that free guide. And if you'd like to learn more about numerology, if you'd like a more advanced numerology reading, or if you want anything else, just say hello in the DMs. Come say hi. I'm more than happy to help. Thank you so much for sticking around for these free live trainings. I appreciate I have given you so much information, but it truly is an honor. I hope it's been helpful. I hope it equips you and preps you in advance of 2023 and continues to be a source of support and information and confirmation for you as you navigate 2023. It's going to be an interesting year. We're at a very interesting time in human evolution right now, but I think we'll all come out thriving, and everyone's got their own personal year. Everyone's got their own chart. So the way we all come together and we contribute where we're at in our own energetic evolution, I think it could be really beautiful. I think conscious awareness around this information is so important. So if you can bring your level of consciousness to your personal year and to the collective personal year, then you're going to be an energetic invitation for other people to do the same. And for me, that's probably one of the most selfless things that you can do, is your own conscious evolution, self and development. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for doing the work. Em says, love these H. Thank you. You are so welcome. Honestly, it's an honor and it is a pleasure to teach numerology. I'm head over heels obsessed in love with it. Hope it's been helpful. That's all from me for right now. I'm sure I'll be back with more lives very soon. Thank you for being so awesome and supportive. I've really enjoyed these. I love you to bits. Speak to you soon. Bye for now.